Hello all. So, got a new story today about a life skills teacher allegedly had intercourse with a runaway teen while hiding him. So he ran away from home, and I guess she's hiding him from the authorities. And she decided to, get banged out while she's doing it. And she's a life skills teacher, so she took her job a little bit too far. Let's see what's going on.
An Arizona educator has found herself in some hot water and has been fired from her job after allegedly having sexual contact with a 17-year-old boy. But the oddities in this story don't end there.
Okay, so she just had to wait one more year and it would have been legal. But, she couldn't wait.
The boy had been previously reported missing months ago. We're going to break it down with Dr. Zeev Cohen, board-certified psychiatrist. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Officials in Lake Havasu City, Arizona say 44-year-old Robyn Rogers, a mother of two, has been arrested and charged with 3 counts of sexual conduct with a minor, hindering prosecution, false reporting to law enforcement, and possession of narcotic drugs and paraphernalia. Now, normally I'd say, that's really serious crimes. That's awful. But here's what makes it even more concerning. What makes it more concerning is that she is a fired teacher. Yes, apparently an instructor of a life skills class and a child development class, as well as the athletic liaison, board of directors liaison, and a cheerleading coach at Telesis Preparatory Academy.
Wow.
This is a charter school. Now, according to a news release, the case dates back to February 16th, when officers with the Lake Havasu Police Department began searching for a runaway teenager, 17 years old, who had apparently left home 2 days earlier and hadn't returned. So officials received a tip earlier this month that he was staying at a home on Beef Eater Drive. And after
Beef Eater Drive? You're all wrong. That's just so wrong.
Entering the home, police then contacted Rogers, who was believed to be hiding the juvenile. And while speaking with Rogers, the teenager was allegedly seen sneaking out the back of the home and led officers on a short foot chase before they apprehended him. Now, through their investigation, detectives determined that Rogers had been having a sexual relationship with this teenager as she was allegedly assisting him evading police. Now, a statement released from the school superintendent hours after arrest simply revealed that Rogers was no longer employed at the school. Maybe not.
They're immediately like, oh yeah, we fired her. Like Discount Owen Wilson was saying. This lady, the kid, he just escaped 2 days earlier. So it seems like they probably knew each other prior to that. So she lost her job. Maybe she contacted him, and that's why he decided to run away from home to get back into that action. And she was probably, doing it prior to the whole, losing her job situation.
Not surprising there. At Rogers' initial appearance, she was placed under a $25,000 cash bail on the sexual conduct counts and $5,000 bond on the remaining charges. The mom of two appeared in her mugshots sporting a pair of braided pigtails, of all things. And at the time of this recording, Rogers has...
Somebody has a little bit of arrested development. Trying to recapture your youth, are you?
Yet to post bail and is being held in jail at the Mojave County Sheriff's Office. Now, a lot to talk about here. So, I want to bring back in board-certified psychiatrist Dr. Zeev Cohen, who I'm so happy to talk to, but
Professor X.
Unfortunately, in the past few times, every time I bring him on, we are talking about an educator accused of very serious wrongdoing, and here is nonetheless the same kind of thing. Doctor, I think what makes this even more complicated from cases we were talking about in the past is you have this aspect of allegedly harboring a juvenile runaway and the drug charges, right? What do you take away from this?
Drugs.
Sure. So, that adds to really the criminality of it. So, this is a juvenile that's missing. This is a missing child and is being harbored. So it certainly adds to the criminality. And then there appeared to be drugs involved if there was supplying drugs to the minor or using drugs. as part of the sexual relationship, or potentially as part of grooming the minor, which is a pattern that is known from sexual abuse, where abusers will actually use drugs to lure a minor or begin to break down the boundaries and have an inappropriate sexual relationship or an abusive sexual relationship with a minor. So there are all kinds of concerns about this case that I'm sure investigators need to really delve into so that they can make a list of the appropriate charges. And I would imagine
River hair don't care. All right.
and that the preliminary charges are going to evolve as we get more information.
And to be clear, we don't know the exact details of this conduct between the two. I'm sure if that's amplified and exposed, it will give a better sense of the charges and what she could potentially face here. We also don't know exactly how she knows the teenager, right? Doesn't that make it interesting as well?
Sure. So, the last couple times we talked about this, we talked about teachers who abused students at the same school where they were teachers. In this case, she apparently is a teacher. We don't know if this youth was a student at her school. So that's something that would be interesting to explore. If he was a student at the school, then it meets it fits the pattern of what we talk about, where the abuser is an abuser that's in an organizational setting, which could be a school, a team, it could be a coach, things like that. If she only knew him socially, then that would be a different pattern. It wouldn't be from the organizational setting. So could it be that he's the son, of someone that she knows in the community, or that she came across him in some other way, online, for example? Could there be an online grooming or kind of online predator component to this? So I think that we really need to learn a lot more about what their relationship is, how it got started, and how it was maintained to the point that this youth ran away from home, perhaps to be with her, and that she harbored him illegally while law enforcement is actually looking for him.
Can I ask you about that, in the sense that, assuming she was his educator of some kind, or even not? I mean, have you seen cases like this before, where adults are housing teenagers, keeping them, from being found? And obviously, I'm not talking about a kidnapping case. I'm talking about a case of like a teacher housing a student, or an educator housing a teenager and having this kind of sexual relationship. I was struggling to remember a case like that.
Sure. Well, I've definitely seen cases personally, and there are cases in the news of adults, having sexual relationships with minors who then end up running away, sometimes crossing state lines, to live, to evade detection.
Yeah, I think I remember a news story about, it was like a 15, 16-year-old girl who, she had a pen pal with this 27-year-old man, and she ran away from home, I think it was either a bus or a plane ticket to get to him, and he kind of lived with him for a while, and I guess they kind of broke up, and then she came back home, but she was reported missing the whole time, something like that.
And for that couple to continue, that so-called couple to continue to be together. So I think that is definitely something that can happen. Look, if she's a teacher at the school, then it would fit a pattern. Now, again, we don't know, she hasn't been found guilty of anything. So I'm just talking about patterns and theories about how these types of things happen, not specifically about her. But we've talked about this in our previous discussions of teachers, female teachers having involvement with boys. Most often, it's women who tend to be on the younger side, mid-20s to mid-40s.
That woman was not young.
And usually the relationship is with an adolescent male, so 16 or 17. And there can be all kinds of reasons why this happens, but often the teacher...
Yeah, there's also, I think, when the females are like targeting the young girls, they're usually like shopping them for their husbands, and they have some kind of weird, couple thing going on with the kids when they're dealing with the girls. But I think when they're dealing with the boys, it's for personal use. It's weird, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Becomes infatuated. The teacher may be lonely, maybe feeling unfulfilled in their own life. Maybe the marriage isn't going well. Maybe there's a substance use issue, as perhaps there was in this case, that's also impacting the person's mental health. And they begin to have unrealistic ideas about a relationship with a minor who, of course, it's an unequal relationship. And so there's a fantasy that somehow that kind of a relationship is going to make them feel better or improve their situation.
And let me just ask you a question about this. She not just hiding him, but allegations that she hid him for months. And I would imagine that if you put somebody in that position, right, where they are presumably not in contact with family or friends or the outside world, whatever that, and again, I'm using quotations, relationship is, that manipulation, it's worsened by that, right, by that kind of environment.
Sure. So, I mean, I think what happens is there's a process where the person's judgment becomes more and more clouded. So initially, maybe she didn't think she would ever have a relationship with him, or an abuser might think, I'd never do this. I would never be an abuser. And maybe then there are text messages or Snapchat photographs or meeting after school in clearly an inappropriate way. There's no educational reason to have that meeting, or spending time alone in a car, or being alone in a car and smoking a marijuana joint together. And so there's a breakdown of boundaries, there's a progressive clouding of judgment, and then one can imagine that that leads to a situation where if they're in a sexual relationship, he shows up at her house and says, can I crash here, or I want to be here, and she allows him to, or she even, hides him. So it can seem so crazy, right, and irrational and self-destructive from the outside for an adult school teacher to engage in this type of behavior, but I think it happens gradually.
Hey guys, I want to take a sidebar for a minute. I think it's important to explain it again, how damaging this can be for a 17-year-old, for a teenager.
I think we understand how damaging
of that child. But the minor, it's veering them off of their normal developmental path. It's introducing them to a sexual relationship when they're quite young. In this case, I don't think
they have much more information on the case, but yeah, it's a weird situation, man. And they didn't really dive into much on what kind of drugs she was taking, or whether or not she gave it to the kid. But 17, man. I'm assuming because it's such a big case, she's in a part of the state where 17 is illegal, where the legal age is 18. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a big deal. I guess it would kind of be, because she was kind of harboring him while he was missing. That would have been the case, and the sexual component, I think it would have just kind of been inappropriate if it was like, if the legal age was like 16 or 17, as it is in some states. But yeah, man, this is it's a wild story. There's a lot of sometimes young to older women that are like working, especially teachers, especially those kinds of jobs where there's a lot more work than the pay. And as you can see from the photos which she had, which she's just like going out on the boat, and it seems that when she does have vacation time, she's excited to do it. She's taking selfies, all that kind of stuff. It seems like her, there's kinds of jobs I can understand where you kind of feel trapped in a sort of like cycle. And I didn't notice it when I was younger, but now that I'm older, and I've dated some teachers, they are a little miserable. They're high strung, and they party like they're college students. Like they're doing the drugs, they're drinking heavily, and they're just very unhappy. I remember getting in an argument with this one teacher, this woman was large. She was large. She was like a friend of a friend or whatever. And we were at the bar, and she just like struck up a conversation with me because she was mad at this guy or whatever. And she was she was basically talking about this guy that she broke up with, and she was explaining how she was just not attracted to him anymore, and the situation was just not to her liking. And I was like, okay, but did you think that he was as attracted to you as he was in the beginning? It could have been a situation where you both kind of just stopped because he cheated on her. So I was like, it could have been a situation when you both kind of like lost that enthusiasm to kind of like be with each other, and that could be what led to him, veering elsewhere. And she was like, no, I was his dream girl or whatever. This woman was large, like a large woman, and I'm just like, I didn't want to go there and kind of tell her like, it's just not what you think it is. And her ego was very high, but she was just mad the whole time, and she started yelling at me, and yeah, just drinking heavily. It was just not a good look, man. And yeah, a lot of these people are miserable, and it's unfortunate that they're around kids, and miserable people do a lot to escape the reality of their situation, and delusion can lead to something harmless, and sometimes, some unfortunate times, it becomes something very harmful. So anyways, until next time.